Hey guys, and welcome to my new series. Today I'm gonna review the hand history which I played this Sunday, and this is a low stakes tournament which I think it's gonna be a nice change of things. Previously I've done like four or five last videos I've done either was live sweats with mid stakes and some higher stakes MTTs, mostly progressive knockouts, but we have to remember there is regular tournaments as well, and I wanted to just change things a bit and make a review of just regular tournament. So this is on GG Masters Asia edition. This is $25 buy-in, and it has big fields of players. I think it's either like 1,200 or 1,500 players or something like that. Really fun tournament to play. So we're gonna get into the action. Firstly, I'm gonna just go through the hands that I V-pipped, and maybe at later stages I might go and look up every single hand. But yeah, just for the sake of saving time, your time and my time, I'm just gonna do that. Pocket threes here against the 4-blind shove. If I'm on button, I think I'm taking this spot for sure. We can quickly run hold'em resources here, just looking at Chippy V model, how wide we should stack off here. The thing is, I don't want to be flatting here with pocket threes because his all-in is pretty small here. So when I flat, either player can squeeze and shove, and after that action I have to fold with pocket threes. And even if they call, they have good odds to call against my ISO call here. My hand is going to be vulnerable against so many possible combinations that they might have. Against 10-8 suited, against Jack-9 suited, all those hands. So that was the main point why I didn't felt like I want to be calling here. And just ISO shoving here for 26, I think it's a bit too much. Yeah, if I'm on the button, I think it makes slight difference, positive difference, where I would be stacking off here with threes. From small blind, I'm for sure just stacking off. So let's see what results we get here by looking at the simulation. So results are this. His shoving range is something like that. He might go a little wider with some suited hands, I guess, but it's not going to make a difference in EV, especially for our exact hand, because if we just add suited hands that have 2 overs against our pocket threes, it's not going to get any better anyways. So the range that we ISO reshoving here is going to be 6s plus, ace-8 suited, king-jack suited, and ace-10 off. King-queen offsuit is kind of barely in it. Of course, this is reshoving range, so if I make an option for flatting, some of these hands that are now minus EV will go to a calling range, and therefore they're either going to be ISO calling and someone shoves on us, we can fold out. But against initial 4-blinds shove, we're doing really well with a hand like ace-8 suited or something like that, or even pocket 5s or 4s. So yeah, that was my thought process, and I went for a fold. I'm happy with that. Pocket 4s, this is probably very marginal open, but there is a short stack against whom I'm gonna stack off. Maybe other players will view my raise as a sign of strength because I chose to go for a raise here in this situation, and we're calling off against small blind and hold against ace-9 suited. Jack-10 off, I'm gonna be folding this. I'm not gonna defend here against the button with 9-4 offsuit. King-queen off against 24 blind open from cutoff. This seems like a good spot to just jam here. It's definitely making money by jamming. if I call, I'm playing out of position against possibly two players. I'm playing out of position against possibly two players. I'm giving, somewhat possibility to realize his wide opening range, some equity. So I think just jamming here is the option. Let's double check it with HRC. Okay, so I gave him this opening range, 30% barely. These holdings are somewhat debatable, and that's why I put it in low percentages of total combinations. But other than that, I think it's going to be somewhat accurate. Some players will be, purely opening these or hands like, 6-5 suited or 9-7 suited purely. So yeah, I think this range is going to be somewhat correct. And against that, we are responding with the jam of this range. So yeah, King Queen offsuit is going as a shove all the time. And against our shove, he's supposed to be calling with 6s plus, Ace 9 suited, King Queen suited, Ace 10 offsuit. So yeah, seems like okay. Pocket threes against low jack. I'm gonna be calling. He bets on Broadway board. I'm just gonna fold that. Yeah, folding this. Pocket aces, holding against ace 4. Ace 10 offsuit here. This is gonna be a mix of 3-bet and a call. This time I went for a 3-bet. I think I could go slightly smaller sizing here. We don't need to make it like 4x when we're playing 40 effective, I think. Let's double check that with odd-in and GTO ranges. What's our strategy here with exact combination, and what's the sizing of 3-bet? Yeah, because I'm interested in that. So his opening range from hijack should be something like that. I think it's going to be accurate in the games that are running. Maybe players will have some more of these opens at some frequency, and yeah, other than that, it seems fine. So he opens, but cutoff folds, button folds, and it's up to us now. Yeah, so as we can see, it's a mix of 3-bet and a call. 3-betting is more favorable option just because of the nature of offsuit's hand and its post-flop playability, I imagine. As we can see, ace 10 suited is mostly a call just because of the suitedness it has. Ace king and ace queen are jams here most of the time. Their responses as a jam are cool, I think, because if I jam here and he has ace queen and I have ace king, he's kind of wants to call me off, so therefore I will, extract most value with my ace king. And also if he has pocket pairs here, I imagine he's b-folding a lot. So yeah, the sizing, as we can see, it is somewhat 4x, and against that he should respond with this strategy. I think Field will be playing more shoves than it should be, with jacks mostly just jamming, with tens jamming more than this, I think. Yeah, other than that, seems fine. Maybe some more jamming with pocket kings or aces as well. But if we go to, I just want to look at when we shove here for 40, what's his calling range here? Yeah, so he's supposed to call against that range with ace-jack, even king-queen suited, and 7s plus. So if we jam ace-king and ace-queen here for 40, and he is calling with those hands, then it's a great result for us. And of course, I don't think in the field players will be, in reality, they're going to be calling these hands. So they're going to be folding these hands, but I think in reality as well, they're going to be folding sevens most of the time and maybe even eights some of the time. So we do get folds from a lot of strong hands that kind of at this point are winning if we're talking about pocket pairs. And I think, these hands, ace jack suited and ace queen, is probably going to be called off most of the time. So if we have ace king, jamming here makes a lot of sense. And if we look at, again, I just hope it's not, waste of your time looking at this, because I think it's a valuable lesson that we can learn here. If you look at the other shoving hands that are benefiting most, we're going to see we're shoving with half of the time with jack 10 suited, king 10 suited, queen jack suited, king jack suited, ace 5 suited, and 9s and 10s. So these hands, when we shove, accomplishes a lot, big blind folds. If we have like jack 10 suited, we folding so many stronger hands, ace jack, ace 10, king queen, ace 10 suited, queen jack suited, king 10 suited. Same goes with queen jack and king 10. We're folding so much stronger hands. And, in reality, as I said, players usually just gonna fold these two as well, and sometimes fold sevens and eights. So by jamming with, jack 10 suited, we're accomplishing a lot there. So really like the suggestion of the strategy there by Odin. Three big blind open, and we have ace jack. I probably would call against that. This is probably recreational, so I would call in position with ace jack, but against this action, just easy fold. Pocket jacks, raise it up. He 3-bets to 7 blinds, and we got call by this player. This is a somewhat interesting situation because this is either, mostly going to be some aces and kings, at some frequency as a flat, but it also can be like 9s, 10s, ace queen, king queen suited sometimes, ace jack suited sometimes, and we're talking just about, kind of range which is somewhat strong, but this is the player who I didn't play it before, and I don't know him, and he might have some random hands as well. He might call with ace 10 suited, he might call, king jack suited or jack 10 suited because he feels like it. So I'm not making that much of his calling. I do lose against aces and kings, and that's fine. It will happen sometimes. But there are quite a few hands that I want to, jam and deny equity of. Mainly like ace queen suited, ace queen offsuit, king queen suited, and stuff like that. And talking about this player's 3-betting range, I think this is going to be a shove mainly because of this range. Because I think the field is mostly gonna 3-bet king queens, ace kings here, pocket tens, and stuff like that. So against that range, and plus those 7 blinds, against that range I'm doing okay-ish. I feel like jacks is just gonna be a jam, 40 effective. If we're deeper, then I'm probably just playing post flop. But with 40 effective and so much money already in the pot, I think we have to shove. I'm gonna run this too in Odin just to see in GPB model and against GTO ranges how we're supposed to play. So my raising range should be something like that from this position. We raise and get raised 3-bet by hijack. So in reality, I think the range distribution for 3-betting is gonna be somewhat different. Although I think players will be mostly calling with suited portion of these hands. So the suited portion I do like. how it's distributed, and think it's gonna be accurate. But I think offsuit combinations are be leaning towards more as a 3-bet than I mean, it's leaning against 3-bet already, but I think it's gonna be even more as a even more strategy choice as a 3-bet than a call. So I think we have in reality more of these overcards, offsuit overcards that has decent equity against our actual hand, and I don't think he has like 8s or even 9s, maybe some 9s, but not that many. So he goes for 3-bet. So this player should have no calls in theory, which makes sense, of course. That's why that's why I was suspicious about this call, and it was a recreational player. So I'm gonna leave this player out and just see how we should respond against initial 3-bet if we have jacks. And of course, if we start putting some, flatting hands in this player's range, then jamming I got pocket tens, ace kings is gonna be more profitable because there will be more folds from this player and extra 7 blinds in the pot. So as we can see, against this 3-bet range, we wanna be jamming 10s plus, ace king, ace 3 suited, ace 4, ace 5. These are good candidates for 4-bet shoving because they are unblocking his possible 3-bet bluffs from hands like king jack, king queen, king 10 suited and stuff like that. So that's great situation for these hands to be shoving. And for these hands we do need protection, and we're doing well against that range, so that's why we're shoving. So that's why I went for it, and I get called by this player, and I think this player folded and showed queens. Yeah, so it's kind of crazy situation, but that's fine. We win this big pot early in the tournament, which is great. More playability, of course. 20 blind stack limps here in a hijack and small blind completes. I think this is mostly going to be, some trashy hands that want to be seeing the flop cheaply. This is, I guess, recreational as well, and his range will have some pocket pairs, I think, from deuces to like 5s maybe, but he will have immense amount of combinations of like 10-9 suited and 7 suited, 8-6 suited, these sorts of hands, and I don't think he's going to be calling with those. Even if he does, he still is being put in a situation where he has to call it off for all the chips. So yeah, just jamming. And this player is dead money, so we're not worried about this player anyways. Even if he calls here in this situation and we both have 75 blinds effective, I would just jam here with deuces anyways. This is easy, and we win against ace king and 9s. Standard for both players, just unlucky for them. Folding jack 9, jack 5 offsuit. Pocket 5s I open and win the blinds. King 6 suited is somewhat close between fold and open, but I went for a fold. I would definitely open like king 8 suited there. 9-6 offsuit in against two opponents. I would call 9-8 offsuit, and this seems like a fold. If it's a suited hand, I would definitely call with 9-5 suited and upwards, but this is just seems too weak. Next is a7 offsuit. We'll be folding against an raise. Raising king jack, big blind defense, ace high board. I went for a range bet somewhat. I think he mostly don't have ace-x in his range, and in general, a lot of his range will be forced to fold on against this bet. So yeah, I went for that, and he folds. Yeah, so I quickly ran this situation in odd 25 effective. So as we can see, we're supposed to kind of range bet with pretty much any sizing that we want. But yeah, betting one blind accomplishes a lot, as you can see, as you will see. So we fold out, bunch of hands that, if we have king jack, and he has like 10-7, he's still drawing pretty okay against if we give him a free card. So yeah, if one blind is folding out 56% of his range, then it's a great situation for us. Ace jack, raise from cutoff, and big blind jams. I think I went for it. Yeah. The logic here is I do have a lot of chips, obviously, and I think he will assume that I'm gonna be opening a lot, which I will do. And small blinds flat seems weak as well. I think most of his stronger hands will be just 3-bet shoving or 3-betting, non all-in against my raise. So it kind of makes sense for me if I put myself in his shoes to be jamming hands like ace-4 suited and stuff like that and upwards. So I went for it. Let's double check it and in HRC, what do we get as a result? Yeah, so if I open this range of 31%, and I think in reality I might open a bit wider than this, and if small blind is flatting these sorts of hands, it's just a mix of a bunch of, suited gappers, Broadway-ish type of hands, and even some traps with aces. Big blind is supposed to be jamming these sorts of holdings with decent profitability. Like ace-5 suited is making one big blind here. Deuces are making 1.2 big blinds. Ace-10 offsuit are making 2 blinds. And all the suited aces are making a decent amount of by shoving. Broadways like Queen-Jack suited and King-Jack suited are making a decent amount. So yeah. And against this shoving range, if he goes for it, we have to respond by calling off with ace-10 offsuit, ace-jack offsuit, and pocket fives, and ace-9 suited. So ace-jack are making 5 blinds here by stacking off. Clearly the situation where we have to take it up. And it's great to see that he did end up having a hand that is kind of in low range of at the bottom of his 3-bet shoving range here, Queen Jack suited. Nice play by him, and yeah. Ace Jack suited, this is a bit different, but I went for a call here anyways. I would probably end up folding Ace Jack offsuit and call this. I'm gonna double check. This time I lost against Ace King, but it's not because we lost, but let's just double check. Yeah, so against my open, he can shove pretty wide again. Any ace-x suited is not losing money. Every pocket pair, every Broadway suited, and king queen offsuit, king jack offsuit. All these hands are making money for him as a shove. But I made his range a bit tighter because originally it was, as you can see, at the profitable shoves, they were automatically selected by that. So I made his range a bit tighter because in reality I think players will jam these sorts of hands but maybe miss some of these hands and these hands. So just wanted to look this against tighter range. Yeah, and against tight range, yeah, even against tight range, I said I would fold ace-jack offsuit. That would be clearly a mistake, and ace-jack suited is clearly a call. Sevens, yeah, looking at it right now, actually calling off with ace-jack offsuit really makes sense, especially if players are jamming those, you know, ace X's. Yeah, so moving on. King Queen suited, we're playing 100 blinds effective. This is definitely a mix of either to 3-bet or a call. I went for a call this time, and Ace Jack 7, I have backdoor flush draw and gut shot. He checks into me. My range will have Jacks, 7s, Ace Jack, and you know, Ace Queens, even Ace King at this effective stack sizes. So he kind of has slight range advantage, but not that much. And when he checks into me, I think I want to start betting here. I can fold out stronger hands than mine. You know, pocket 8s, pocket 9s, stuff like that. Put some pressure on 7x, on Jack X as well. So I went for a bet, and he 3x raises, and against that, I think I want to be just folding. Raise with aces. Went for half pot bet here on King 7-6. He calls. Turn is a queen. Went for like 75-80% of the pot, and he folds. Eight 7 suited. There's a problem with this stack here being present, and these reshoving stacks as well. And the fact that he is opening into this situation makes his range slightly stronger than usual. If you know, there would be like, this player would have like 25 blinds or so, I would definitely play this hand in position against this open, but with the situation behind me, I think this makes as a fold. Pocket 8s, raise and call, 8 blinds to stack. Went against Ace Jack. We'll be calling this. So bet, call, and call. We definitely calling with our flush. There's this situation where I would be sometimes leading, but I think I definitely have to be careful with this flush. There will be, you know, King 10 of clubs, King Queen of clubs, Queen 10 of clubs, maybe even some wider calls with King X of clubs, you know, suited King X, of course. So I'm kind of happy with my hand, but still I would definitely don't want to stack off, you know, 90 blinds against that player. So I went for a check call and went for a weird dunk bet. This hand clearly cuts off a lot of possible flushes that they might have. But now the situation arises where, you know, if some of these players have like ace queen, or even this player has ace king with a club, then they naturally, of course, will have stronger flush than mine. So I went for this just random bet, I would say, to just stun them, I guess. And yeah, they both have just ace X, and this player had king 6 for a bigger flush. Here, 12 blinds effective, just jamming. Against 3x here, I think folding is fine. Raising Queen 10 offsuit. Queen Jack suited, raise and take it. Queen 5, folding. Ace Jack suited, went for a call this time. It's cool for me to call this, you know, and induce some wider jams as well. Yeah. Went for a bet. Small blind calls, jack on the turn. I'm just jamming here. I think if he has ace-x, you know, he will call me off. If he has flush draw with a jack here, which is definitely a possibility, he will call me off anyways. So yeah, just jamming. And he ended up having just 8 high flush draw, which is definitely not a call for him, but that's good for us. King 10 suited. This is interesting situation. I think King Jack suited I'm definitely V-pipping, and King 10 suited is a bit marginal, I think. Like, I imagine he's going to be isolating some stronger broadways and similar broadways as well, and some pocket pairs and some, you know, ace-x's. So against that range, I'm not sure how good King 10 suited is standing, being out of position and with 2 players left behind to act. Yeah, I just went for a fold. I don't regret it. This might be some, you know, break even or slight plus CV call, but that's fine. Pocket 3s. Yeah, I think this is a fold with 3s. There are 3 reshoving stacks against which I'm not super excited to call them off with this small pocket pair. Raising Jack 9 suited, get 2 calls. Big blind leads, and my hand is just a fold. Ace 4. This is probably a mix of either raise or to fold. So raise ace queen and short stack calls. I went for like checking as a trap. You know, if he has like king jack, king 10, queen jack, queen 10, these sorts of hands. If I start by betting, I think sometimes either on the turn, usually on the turn, I think he might start folding his holding. But when I check into him and he's so short and there's so much money in the pot, I think sometimes he might just, you know, if he has like king jack, he just might chip it, and that's the end of that. So I went for a, you know, kind of trappy play and went for a check call. You know, even if he checks back at the turn, and if he has like king jack, king 10, or queen jack, queen 10. That's fine by me. You know, I still can shove on the rivers, and he's gonna be put in, you know, tough situation with you know, less money behind him and more in the pot. So he might, you know, just flick it in with some of those hands when I shove. But he shoves himself, and I call. He has king queen. Ace 4 suited. Yeah, I think it's okay to call this. And small blind squeezes. We're just gonna have to fold. So big blind out of 42 goes for a small 3-bet, which is somewhat alarming. And in this tournament, usually I don't have information on the players that I'm playing. I do encounter some regulars, of course, but most of the field is going to be, you know, especially on Sundays, it's going to be a lot of recreationals in it. So we're somewhat in mid stages of the tournament. I think we're in the money already, and when he goes for this small 3-bet, it's a bit, like I said, alarming. I think just calling in position here at some frequency is definitely fine. I would just say that I would call way more in position here than theory would suggest. So I went for a call. He goes for a check. I went for a check back. My hand doesn't need any protection here, and he might have, you know, some queens and jacks and tens that he's playing this way. Although I don't think he has tens maybe in this small 3-betting range. So here I step into a pot and he goes for a call. And I remember specifically I started putting him on a queens with a club. I went for this kind of bigger sizing as we speak about, 4-card flush board. We're not usually going to bet very, very big, but especially in exploitative part of playing. So I went for this like 65 or 70% of the pot, and he calls with queens with a club. That was a nice feeling when you put opponent on exact hand and he does have it. And queens, this is a weird lead, and but I do have a blocker for possible flush draws. He will have plenty of ace-x in his range. You might say he shouldn't supposed to be, having a lot of ace-x in this situation, but he shouldn't supposed to have any leads here as well against two opponents here. So I think his range is somewhat uncapped as long as ace-x goes. So against that and player left act behind, I just fold it, and I don't mind that at all. Just the sheer amount of ace-x that he has in his range and occasional, flush draw that he's leading, I'm fine by folding my queens there. Raising eights, calling off against small blind shove, win against sevens. Queen 9 suited with some shorties. And when I call, this player becomes a reshoving stack as well if he wants to, and it's a good situation for him to do so. There's so much, possible dead money in the pot, so I just went for a fold. I would call like queen 10 suited. Probably, yeah. This is probably a call. 30 effective, 35 effective. I went for a fold. Yeah, in a hindsight, looking at it right now, I think just calling, playing flop, seeing what it brings. So looking at Odin here, against range of 30 effective, and I will show range after this. We bought some king 4 offsuit. So I imagine with the range of being tighter because of the short stacks, maybe folding king 5 is actually a reasonable play. I'm gonna go to show you his opening range. So yeah, I don't think he's gonna be opening these sorts of hands, Pocket 4s even, I don't think he's opening. Jack 10, I don't think he's opening. So we're dealing with tighter range, more blocker heavy and stronger broadways and gappers. So against that, maybe, yeah, I don't mind then folding this, just looking at a hindsight. Here, jam for 4 effective with a deuce suited, he folds. Folding this. Ace king suited, raise and take it. King deuce offsuit, I go for a raise. This is probably a bubble. And I went for a check back. I think it's fine. If I bet and get shoved on, I cannot call here, definitely, especially on the bubble. He's gonna be having a strong range when he's shoving against my c-bet. But when he goes for a check on the turn, I will be uncapped with so many strong hands where, essentially I think he sheds off some of his value when he's not betting into me, and on the turn when the 9 brings so many possibilities that I might have in my range, I become uncapped and I can start betting into him. So I went for this bet and he folds. And I think if he has like 10x or 8x or 9x, it's just a very bad situation for him to be in. Even if he has Jack X, I think he's indifferent against this bet size. And I will be mostly just shoving the rivers against him, unless I feel like he's trapping or something, or he's not folding, you know. But most of the time, it's just gonna be a shove, and yeah. Folding these hands. Pocket kings, 11 blinds stack 3 X's, and I just jam. He calls. He has 8-9 offsuit. Poker's not dead. Raising. This is interesting, actually, with ace-x suited. Let's double check this in HRC. It feels like we're priced in, but I'm just not sure how, you know, how profitable that is. And if it's like, you know, very marginal, then I don't mind just passing that edge and, you know, playing. So I'm editing at the moment big blinds range, as I'm gonna show you off screen. It is, but I will bring it up when I can. I'm thinking his shoving range is gonna be something like that. I'm gonna add some frequency of these hands, and what else I can do here? Yeah, it seems like that. So his original range was a bit wider. King 10 offsuit, most of these suited ace-x, and full combinations of Jack 10, King 10 suited. I just don't think that players in game are finding these hands. And of course, if it shows it as a positive against my raise and his shove, then it's gonna be a positive stack off for this player. But I don't think people are in game realizing the equity that their hand have in this particular situation. And even for me, I don't think I would find like Jack 10 suited here. When this player opens, this player shoves, and I'm in the big blind with 11 bigs and I have Jack 10 suited. It would just seem like, well, I think I have to fold that. And this is the situation which is uncommon and less studied. Therefore, we do get these, you know, interesting results in a way. So against these holdings, let's see. Yeah, ace-8 suited is priced in here and making one big blind against this sort of stacking off range. Yeah, so these are results, as we can see. Yeah, we kind of priced in with those hands. If we have like ace-4 suited, then yeah, sure, we can pass that off. Or ace-deuce, ace-3. It's not like we have ace-x suited and we're priced in. It's mid-strength ace-x suited, and then broadways and pocket pairs that are stacking off. So, you know, note it for the future me. Ace-jack suited, raise, and big blind calls. Flop not straight, and went for a c-bet. Folding against this feels pretty strong. Yeah, folding 6-8 off, 6-8 suited. The blinds are just too short for me to be opening anything but blockers and value. He shoves for 10 blinds. I'm just calling here. It doesn't matter, you know. I just could min raise and put everyone rest on the table as all in, but 6-5 suited. He shoves. We have to fold. 9-6, folding. See one more hand that we play, and we're gonna wrap up this part. Ace-9 suited. This is close. Let's analyze this hand. What's our calling off range here, and we're gonna wrap this at this point. So I'm editing his shoving range. I think Field will gonna sometimes raise aces and kings because he has still 13 blinds. There's a lot of short stacks. It's just tempting, and I think it's good to be raising here and even having some raise folds in this situation. So I'm gonna put these combos at 50. I'm gonna leave queens at, let's say, 80, and the rest as it is. Then looking at these bottom shoving hands, I think I'm gonna cut these by 25, and ace X ones at 25 as well. These can be as it is. King Jack offsuit, it's very marginal as well, and I think people are feeling it before shoving that. So I'm gonna do it 40% of that. And other than that, seems fine here. Let's make pocket threes at 50%, and maybe ace-10 as 70%. Some players will be just raise folding that, or raise calling the short stacks. And yeah, like that. Okay. So we get to stack off here in chip EV model with ace-10 suited, ace-jack offsuit, and 7s plus. King-queen suited is very marginal. So I would pass that situation if I have the knowledge in game that if my hand is just making this much money here in this soft tournament, then I would definitely pass that edge. And we have to take in mind that we're looking at chip EV model, and we're not looking at ICM model, and we're clear. And at this point, we're in the money in the tournament, and the ranges that we have to be playing is going to be slightly tighter than chip EV. So these, holdings that are just making not that much money is going to be folds in chip EV most of the time, like these ones as well. So folding this is definitely a play here, and that's gonna do it for this part. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I think we found quite a few interesting spots here that we looked up into, and we still have at least like 3 parts to record this hand history. Maybe we'll encounter some ICM situations at the final table and stuff like that. Yeah. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 2. This was Arvydas Merfeldas for Tournament Poker Edge. Take care.